It took me a while, but I finally managed to play through all the adventure mods for the first Witcher game. There were a few I played through that I didn't finish, but I still feel like I can fairly rate those ones. I'm not going to go too in depth with like the story or quest lines of the mods, but I am going to speak generally to like their quality and how I felt after playing them and which ones I would recommend playing if you want to go back and play through Witcher 1 mods. So, we're going to start from the bottom up so that, we can end the video on a good note, positive note. F tier. The only one in F tier. Earth and Virgins. Long story short, this mod attempts to handle mature themes. It does so in a very immature and just poor taste way that really just left a bad taste in my mouth and really did not make me want to bother playing through the entirety of it. And thusly, it ends up in F tier. Rounding out the bottom of D tier, we have Red Silk. So this mod is ridiculously long, and every time you want to advance in the main storyline, you essentially have to go back and talk to every other important quest character that you've met previously. The problem is every single one of them only appears at a very specific time of either day or night in a certain time window. So going back through them all and meditating to get to that time is just a massive hassle. And this is compounded by the fact that none of the quests track. And there's no markers on the maps, there's no tracking whatsoever. So I just eventually got to a point where it was like, go find this person, they're in this area. This area was a very vaguely defined area that also had monsters that you could not get rid of that just respawned day and night at all times. So I just ended up walking around trying to find this character, backtracking through everyone, and you just essentially just completely get halted because you can't find this person. So long story short, it fails to implement like just default minimum quest tracking and a very convoluted mod that requires you to go back and forth and has you talking to a bunch of people. So you just end up giving up after a while. Then we have the Weird World of Witcher. This one was actually interested to me because it came out in like 2022, but the entire mod is just you're in a tavern with 10 or so characters standing in a circle and you just go around talking to them to unlock new lines of dialogue. The idea is that the mod is supposed to be funny and that you unlock funnier lines as you progress. However, the lines are all delivered via stitched together Witcher 1 audio lines, so the delivery is kind of ass. Oh, so then you have these two. So where are they? So we have Yennefer's Valentine and What a Man Needs. Get in there. Yep. So these mods are both about 15 to 20 minutes, and they are pretty much just an excuse to show off a sex scene that the modder made. Yennefer's Valentine is ranked slightly higher above this one because there's more enemy variety in the 15 minutes, and like technically like there are different quest lines. Also, the sex scene in Yennefer's Valentine is less graphic, so it made me less like embarrassed to play through it. Then we have the wedding. Now this one probably deserves to be a bit higher. The problem is every time I've attempted to play through this mod, it glitches out. And in attempting to find a solution to this glitch, I uncovered multiple forums dating years apart of people complaining about this same glitch. So at that point, this glitch was common enough that I'm like, I feel completely fair to rank your mod according to it. But long story short, it's a dialogue only mod except for fist fights, which if you know anything about the Witcher 1 fist fights and that combat system, it's not particularly enjoyable. So it's just like very common bug that breaks the game, dialogue only, fist fights. Which brings us to C tier, where we have Deception and Masquerade. So both of these are essentially murder mystery mods. Or, yeah, they are both murder mystery mods. Which, they aren't terrible. It's just, they're both a bit boring, honestly. And Masquerade is very overly long and has a mechanic introduced very late that just takes forever to go about doing. Masquerade is also spread across a longer map, so you're constantly backtracking over more area, which just makes it take a lot longer to do. Deception is a bit more straightforward. It's a bit on a smaller map. There's less to it, so So it's quicker. Also, the ending like cutscene to Deception is frankly like just so awkward that it kind of redeems it as entertaining a little bit. So that's why Deception is placed above Masquerade. Then we come in with Poet's Pride. Where is that? We have Poet's Pride. I was really liking this mod. So it's a short mod that essentially involves you involves you solving riddles and puzzles while fighting a few monsters here and there, as you just essentially just completing a series of puzzles and riddles in order to recover something that was stolen from Dandelion. And I was actually enjoying this. This would probably be a B tier mod until the very last riddle, which there's really no clues for how to do in the world. There's no like books, there's no journals, there's nothing that like gives you a hint on how to handle the last riddle. And the riddle is essentially you have to hit torches in a certain combination. The problem is every time you mess up this combination, a horde of monsters spawn. And like I said, there's nothing in the world that I could find, and I searched very thoroughly, that could reasonably give you a hint to what that is supposed to be. So you essentially either end up having to fight waves upon waves of monsters until you trial and error it, or you just save scum. So yeah, it just falls apart at the end. Then we have John's Diary, which this was probably the most intentionally funny mod of the Witcher 1 mods. You play as a drowner through it. It's, there's not really like the combat's in it and is like it's designed to be a comedic mod, so it kind of still ends up in the C tier as opposed to like I could maybe bump it up to B, but it's definitely still enjoyable. And then topping off the C tier, we have the Tribute. So this is both of these two mods, actually, the Tribute and John's Diary, are the only two mods where you don't play as Geralt. So interesting that they both ended up C tier. But the Tribute, essentially, you play just a normal dude in a bar, and you have to fight monsters. And the idea is like you don't have like silver swords, you don't have like the Witcher abilities, but you still have to overcome and fight monsters, which is a really cool concept. The issue is in the Witcher 1's combat system really doesn't lend itself to this very well, and you more end up cheesing the AI than like actually like just using like mastery of the combat system to win. So it was a good idea, but just maybe not the best game to implement it in. Then we come with Evil Decision, rounding out the bottom of the beats here. So it's a good length mod with some decent side quests, but so this mod essentially, as the name implies, is entirely built around you making a big moral choice. And the second you make this big moral choice, the mod immediately presents you with an alternative way to get around the choice, thusly negating the entire point of the first like bit of the mod. Okay, why are you trying to launch right now? God damn it. I don't need you. Why the fuck is Epic trying to launch? Oh god. Anyways. Oh yeah, and then once you commit to doing it, to saving it. Sorry, yeah. So once the mod is building up to a choice, you make the choice, the mod immediately presents you a way to negate the choice and get out of the difficult moral dilemma you're being faced with. And then the way you have to get out of that essentially involves bringing a companion AI somewhere, and it is so easy to bug out this game, to bug out the ending due to that AI, due to the AI in The Witcher, and thusly just screw up your entire playthrough. So Right to the Throne, this is another mod with some decent length, like 2-3 hour mod, good side quests. The only reason it ends up in the B tier is lack of enemy variety. I hope if you like fighting Wraiths, this is the mod for you. And also the ending just comes out of nowhere and is very weird. Right above Right to the Throne, we have Entrapped. So the deal with this mod, a lot of intricate puzzles, a lot of enemy variety, good fight at the end of the mod, really good overall. The only problem is, very early in the mod, you can get a companion. who will accompany you throughout the rest of the mod. There is no downside to getting this companion within the game. However, this companion makes pretty much all but one fight in the game very trivial. And the one fight it doesn't make very trivial would be a nightmare without him. So it's kind of weird. It's just overall very fun, very enjoyable, but not the most well balanced of the mods. All right. Oh, Deceits. Yes, not to be confused with Deception. Good length mod, lots of side quests, including there's a troll fight in this, a few boss battles towards the end. The major problem is the ending is very weird. The mod kind of just you kind of just beat the final boss, and it's just everyone else is just okay, and then the mod just kind of fizzles out, and you have to do some remedial stuff, and it's just it definitely feels like your actions lacked impact in the world that most of the other mods made you feel oh, you actually did something important in this RPG, but the Deceits mod just nah, you didn't do anything, even though you did a lot. And then side effects. Where is side effect? Do I not have that on here? Oh, here it is. Side effects. This is actually a fun mod. Essentially, the way this mod works is Dandelion's in jail. You break him. Well, you get him out, but you have to. But he took a loan from a mob boss, so you need to pay back his loan. And then it's pretty much do whatever to get that amount of money. So you can go kill monsters and just trade in their. So you could just not do any quests and just gamble and or fight monsters and exchange their parts, essentially. Okay, the monster drops for money, and not do any of the quests, and then just go complete the main quest. But there's also just a bunch of side quests that you can do that get you money. So there's a lot of different ways to go about completing this mod. There's a lot of variety in forms of your options to manage the completion. And there's a decent boss fight at the end of this too. So definitely recommend this. And then we come into A and S tier. And like I said before, this is mostly just to be these are the mods I would recommend. A and S are all, I would say you're going to have, if you like The Witcher 1 as a game, you're going to have a good time, I would say, playing through anything in A and S tier. Rounding at the bottom, we have Race of a Quiet Hamlet. Shorter than most of the mods in these tiers, but well-paced, decent side quests. There's some good enemy variety for the amount of enemies that are actually in the game. And the final boss fight's decently challenging. And there are multiple, there is a separate ending, so there is some replayability here too. King of Beggars. Also going into A tier. Where is there it is. Wait. Hold on a second here. No, because there's no way. Yeah, I'm about to say, because this is still here, and this is definitely a B tier. This would be, we'll go back to King of Beggars in a second. I would put this here. So, Light of the Bog, aka Damn These Swamps. There's a lot of creative stuff in this mod. And I think in one of the ending moral choice in this mod is probably in keeping with The Witcher more than most of the other mods. But there's really a lack of side questing. And there are some few, what's the right word? But some of the ideas weren't properly implemented. So there's this section of the mod where you're teleporting to different areas to fight a monster specific to that environment you're teleporting to, and then you teleport back. And then there's a campfire that you heal up at. But the campfire isn't by default lit. You have to hit it with Igni to make it light. So if you use all of your mana fighting the monsters and then you come back, you have to wait around and relight it, and it's just why was that not just set to be lit at all times? So yeah, so overall decent okay mod, but there's a few quality of life features that could have pushed it a bit higher. Anyways, back to King of Beggars. Love this mod. A lot of great fights in this mod. A lot of funny side quests in this mod. The only major problem I have with this mod is it fails to tell you when exactly you leave to a completely new area, and that when you do, you cannot go back and finish up side quests at a later time. So definitely like kind of watch out and be like, and make sure you like just finish your side quests as you encounter them when you play through this mod. Then we have medical problems. All right, so part 1, part 2. Actually, so we're putting part 2 above 1. The first part of 1 drags a bit and is a bit boring, but comes out still being good. And medical problems part 2 is really good, with the only exception being that there's a certain the initial both of them drag in the beginning for different reasons, but both of them kind of drag in the beginning. They're both great mods. They've lots of side quests, varied monsters. Medical Problems 2 has some really good boss fights in it. So overall, can't complain. Both of them are great. And A Curse in Love and Betrayal. So the reason this mod is not an S tier is because the world map for this mod is so massive that comparatively to the other mods, that there's a lot of time just spent running back and forth that would not have been necessary if this was if this mod was compacted into a smaller map. Because there's a lot of good stuff in this mod. There's great side quests, there's a good story, there's good boss fights. Like this mod has like everything you could really want. It's just spread out over too large of an area. And then we have Price of Neutrality. This one gets points for being fully voice acted. I would say, yeah, the full voice acting helps it out a lot, especially with the story. And then plenty of monsters, endgame, good moral choices, so also all good. Oh, I forgot about this one. Oh, no wonder I forgot about that one. So yeah, Price of Neutrality good. Then we have Voice of Reason. This is honestly, you know, I feel bad putting this below like the sex mods, but like, yeah, honestly. So Voice of Reason. So the idea of the Voice of Reason is it's supposed to be a fragment of the first Witcher book, or of The Last Wish, I believe. And then there were supposed to be multiple fragments. There's only 2 out, and the first one essentially amounts to being 40 minutes of just walking around talking, and then you finally fight one monster. The problem is the mod gives you a lot of skill points, which essentially makes that one monster fight take about 10 seconds. So yeah, it's just 40 minutes of just walking around talking to people for about 10 seconds of a very easy fight. And then we have the S tiers. Merry Witchmas and Crossroads. So both of these absolutely fantastic mods. A lot of enemy variety, well paced, both in good compact maps, good boss fights. Now, the reason that I put the Crossroads, a bit higher, sorry about the cropping on that, is because well, one, there are a lot more impactful story decisions throughout the Crossroads in terms of like this decision actually impacts what you can and can't do moving forward in the mod. Thus, so I thought that there was, and also there's just like more endings and stuff with the Crossroads and variety. So there's definitely more replayability in the Crossroads, whereas Merry Witchmas, there's really only like one major choice you make, and the mod pushes you in such a way that like the idea that you wouldn't just take the good option in that situation is just really unlikely. Also, the boss fight that is presented that you get when you do the good versus the evil option really just makes picking the good just the much more better outcome and more enjoyable. So this one still great, but it's very straightforward, very linear. You really like, this is very much a mod. It's like you're gonna play it once and you're gonna get the best that this mod has to offer, and then you're never gonna play it again. Whereas the Crossroads is like there's legitimate like replayability here. I've probably replayed this mod like 3 times so far since I've in all, not since I played it, but definitely so twice since I've played it first. And yeah, so like I said, I didn't really want to go too in depth in like the story and the quest lines, more just general making a list so people who want to play these mods can kind of know which ones are generally good. I would say, honestly, if you like The Witcher 1, from John's Diary and the tribute up, you'll probably enjoy it. And then downward, and then these three, it's like, cup of tea. And then D and F tier, you'll probably be annoyed by, unless like you don't get glitched out in the wedding. The wedding, if you're not glitched out on, is probably like high top of C, low B. But if you encounter that glitch, it's just like, well, you don't work, so you're D tier. And yeah, so hopefully, if you ever want to play any Witcher 1 mods, hopefully this will help you avoid the bad ones.